Hi, my name is Mrs. Gimple, and I figured I will record a video of myself doing this interest survey so you can get to know a little bit more about me. And I think I'm just going to go right in order with what is on here. And okay, my favorite subject in school was biology. Surprise, surprise. I always liked to learn about how living things are organized, how they are discovered, things about cells, DNA, that sort of thing was I was really interested in high school. Um, and my least favorite activity was math. And I think just because I wasn't good at it. Um, in college, I had some really good chemistry professors and math professors and would learn math that was specific for what I was working on. And I think I got to know it a little bit better, but I still struggled with it. Um, all right. So that has what was most challenging. And I think the challenge was positive. But as long as I wasn't using it, I was forgetting it. So once I would learn how to use it, for example, in chemistry, it would be a lot easier for me. I think I learn most about science. I learn about genetics and biochemistry is just an interest of mine. So I read that sort of stuff for hobby. I think when I am taking classes or learning, when the teachers and professors vary the material and ways that they present the material, that's how I learn. Because doing any one thing for too long, I get distracted. So if it's reading or watching a video, I like to kind of switch it up, and I try to do that as much as possible in my teaching. Um, Classroom activity where I felt like I learned a lot. um, Well, I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head. Um, I one time asked a professor if we can do a take home test, kind of just not thinking he was going to actually do it. And I think I learned from that experience not to ever ask for take home tests. I just remember like spending so much time on having to do all these plant pathways and when I got it took forever and I had to write out all these structural formulas. And when I got it back, it had a 99 of 100 written on it. And I guess I had the nerve to ask him what I got wrong. And he just kind of looked at it and said, I'm sure there's something missing somewhere. And he was probably right. Personally, I like to work alone. Just because I feel like I can accomplish more. But that's not to say that the group work is not valuable or that I don't learn from it. Just given a preference, I would probably work alone. But I need to get out of that comfort zone sometimes. So I do sometimes prefer to work in smaller groups. What do I want to do after high school? That's a good question. Is there life after high school? Both as a teacher and a student. But when I first graduated, I wanted to be a medical technician. And then in college, I thought I wanted to be a medical doctor. And then I decided I wanted to go into research. So I worked in research for a master's degree and part of a PhD, which then I decided I was not that interested in what I was working on. Okay. And I really enjoyed who I was working with, but I really missed the big picture of science, where what I was working on. So I decided I wanted to give this teaching thing a try for a while. And then now, 14 years later, I am still teaching high school, but I also work in photography, doing some weddings and portrait photography as well. So those are some kind of my career pathway. I was in research and then teaching, and now in addition to teaching, I also do photography. Okay, extracurricular activities, socializing with friends. Well, I don't do too much socializing with friends anymore because I have kids, but most of the time I socialize with people that also have kids, my kids' ages and such. But in my spare time, I really enjoy nature photography, portrait photography, and reading. How many hours per day do I use technology, computer, tablet, smartphone? It's probably be easier to count how many hours I don't use them. Unfortunately, between teaching and doing other things, it's way too many hours. Um, but I try for both myself and my kids to not use to try to take some breaks and go outside and play and look at things and go for walks and not be tempted to check something every minute of every day. Organizations, teams, clubs out of school. Well, I am a member of Professional Photography Association, and some other groups of mom photographers, for example. So that's pretty much it for that. Any particular responsibilities outside of school? Well, I have two kids, and see, instead of just bringing them up on the screen, I'll just show a picture of them here. I don't know how well we can see them, but those are my boys, and it's a picture of them with their trophies. I will show you other pictures, I'm sure, and I specifically with my younger boy, who's the one on the top there looking up. He has a genetic condition that I tend to talk about in class quite a bit and use as an examples of understanding genetics. So, okay. And so my part-time job is, full-time jobs are teaching and mom, and my part-time job is photography. Um, Describe myself using three words. Um, I'd say I'm quiet until I really get to know people. Um, Creative and inquisitive. I love to read. These days, I'm almost exclusively reading nonfiction, specifically science, nutrition, nonfiction. Favorite book or movie and why I liked it. Hmm, well, let me talk. I'll do both. My most recent favorite book is Good Calories and Bad Calories, and um, there's also a kind of an abridged version of that is why we get fat and what to do about it. And I really like those books because it went through a history of why we understand what we do or don't understand about nutrition, heart disease. And it really helped me understand my body. I'm a type 2 diabetic. My dad's a type 1 diabetic. And it really helped me understand how my body works. And so that's why I like that book. As far as the movie goes, one of my favorite movies is Good Will Hunting. And I just kind of like that movie because it kind of shows how just about kind of overcoming adversity and how the most intelligent people aren't necessarily from kind of the best upbringing and the struggles that go along with that, and kind of when sometimes people are intelligent, how they kind of just want to live a normal life. So if you haven't seen that, I would definitely recommend checking that out. If I could learn any more about any subject, what is it? And I'm constantly looking at things about nutrition and fat metabolism. And I'm just interested in understanding myself, again, as a type 2 diabetic. That's why I'm very curious about that. Um, if I could interview anybody dead or alive, who would it be and why? And I'm going to have to pause the recording here and have to splice. Okay, to pick up where I left off, um, if I could interview anyone dead or alive, who would it be and why? Um, Going back almost 20 years or so, I've always been a big fan of the Dave Matthews Band. So I guess I could interview anybody, I'd pick Dave Matthews, just because been long interested in the music and the artists. If I could travel anywhere in the world, where would I go and why? I think as a biologist, the Galapagos Islands are definitely like a bucket list sort of thing for a lot of biologists, biology teachers. So I would pick the Galapagos Islands. And special talent or interest. I've said photography, but specifically, one of the things that I'm super interested in and I practice a lot of is macro photography. So looking at taking very close up, magnified images with specialized lenses, and I think that that's something that people always tell me that I have a special talent in is macro photography. And it takes a lot of practice to do that as well. And I usually spend a lot of time in the summer in the garden taking pictures of bugs, mostly insects. Okay. Past accomplishment that I'm most proud of. When I was a graduate student, I won a student presentation award, and for my master's thesis work, and that entitled me to get a free trip the next year to the same conference. So that's something I'm pretty proud of. And something that I want you to know about myself is that if you ever have any questions or problems, feel free to approach me and ask me, talk to me about it. I'm a pretty understanding person. All right, so that's about me.